And let's now talk with, share a conversation I had with State Representative Mark Batinick. I talked with him yesterday. We talk about a letter he sent to Governor J.B. Pritzker asking for some metrics to determine exactly how to relax COVID-19 mask mandates. And he sent the letter just before the Labor Day holiday weekend and did not get a response until after our conversation. And we'll detail some of that. But I chatted with State Representative Batinick yesterday, who laid out some of the things that he's trying to get at here when it comes to COVID-19 and the unilateral orders that Governor J.B. Pritzker has put forth. So here's State Representative Mark Batinick, a Republican from Plainfield.
Oh, look, you know what? It's interesting, Craig. I had my mind on the energy bill that's taken up so much of my brain space these days. My letter to the governor simply asked for a couple things. Number one, people are looking for some kind of goal, some kind of end game to all this stuff, and it might be a situation with the pandemic where it fades away, but they like having some hard data. We talk about the science and we talk about the data. So what I'm simply looking for is some metrics around when masks or any of the other mitigations are going to go into effect, and then when they are going to be taken off. So we had that with the regions previously, where we knew where if the positivity rate say went above 8%, we would, do further mitigations, and then it had to drop below 6% to say get restaurants indoors open again. And when we did the latest mask mandate, we really didn't put any metrics on that. I think people are getting this feeling like, when is this going to end? So I want there to be some sort of data driving these decisions. We know we're not going to get a positivity rate of 0, right? This is going to be with us at least for the near term, but probably for a very long time. But there probably should be some metrics and some standards put on when we do mitigations, as opposed to having people feel like it's just at the whim of the administration.
So we're sharing a conversation we had with State Representative Mark Batinick. Talked with him yesterday morning after the show, and he had shared with me the letter before the Labor Day weekend. He also sent that letter to the governor on Friday. So he had yet to get a response from the governor or the governor's office when we chatted yesterday morning.
I have not heard back from the governor's office yet. We will be in Springfield tomorrow for the energy bill vote. So I am kind of hopeful that I do hear back soon. It was before the weekend. Maybe they needed some time to digest some of the radical ideas I put forth, but I am hoping to hear something soon. The other half of the idea that I sent to him was just making the regions a little bit smaller by using county level data along with the counties that touch said county. So I live in Plainfield. Plainfield is in both Kendall and Will County. Well, the Will County region goes to the Indiana border, and the Kendall County region goes all the way to the Iowa border. And when you have regions that are that big and you have borders like that, it doesn't pick up the data as well. And if you go down to the county level with influencing data from the counties that touch it, I think you're able to actually maybe pick out breakouts sooner and maybe put in some mitigations sooner, but that also allows those mitigations to be taken off sooner if you're successful. The other thing it would do is it would allow us to take in, border state situations. So sometimes you might have a county in a border state that really has the big breakout. You probably should be implementing mitigations on the Illinois side sooner than later. And if you're using influencing data from counties that touch the county that you reside in, I think you get a more accurate picture of where the breakouts are starting.
So again, at this time, we talked with State Representative Batinick yesterday. He had not heard back from the governor. The governor, later on in the afternoon, did send a pretty responsive letter to Representative Batinick. And all of this comes after, of course, you've got nearly 20 months now of executive orders of the governor unilaterally impacting the economy, impacting education, impacting individual movement, and whether or not they have a mask on their face indoors or not. These types of things, of course, have been really driven primarily by the governor with no check from the state legislature. So the governor did say he's looking for feedback from lawmakers, and He's also, he'll take any kind of formal feedback, but he won't call lawmakers back to Springfield, as is his authority to do so. The House can call themselves back, as we're seeing today with the energy bill. The Senate could call themselves back, as they did last week for revising state house maps. But the governor can call both chambers back to deal with these issues. The governor has not done that. Now, when I've asked for response from the House Speaker's office to, why not bring back lawmakers to deal with these things, the only response I've really gotten is from Speaker Welch's office saying that he supports the governor's efforts in this. And I haven't really heard much back from the Illinois Senate. However, I did get a statement months ago when I asked this question: why not bring the Senate back so they can deal with these issues like COVID restrictions and mask mandates and so on? The only response really I've gotten from the Senate president was they continue to monitor the situation. But that was months ago. I really haven't gotten a solid response back yet, so I'll try to get some of that with lawmakers being in town today as to why not just bring lawmakers back, have those locally elected officials have some skin in the game, right? Because we always hear how we want to be fully represented, but for the past 20 months, the state's really been, the economy, education policy, health policy, COVID policy, all of that's really been dictated by the governor. But more from State Representative Mark Batinick yesterday.
A little bit, I think all of them have. All of them obviously have an opinion on it. Some of them are different than others. Some of them are happy to let the governor wear the jacket. I've certainly have talked to some that have said, hey, maybe we'll come to the same conclusion, but we need to have public hearings on these things and really start talking these things through. When you're doing something for a couple weeks or a couple months, that's fine. But when you start, for example, putting a mask on a very young child in school, there are downsides to it. And I'm not saying it doesn't mean that you don't do that, but there is learning, there's social expressions and things that are learned through seeing somebody's face. And I'd at least like to have a public conversation about it. It doesn't mean that we don't get to the same place necessarily that the governor's got to, but it means that we've done it in a more transparent manner. I think the other part of having both the set goal that everybody can look at and having the public hearing is that it gives a little bit more public buy-in. Right. If the public can go to their representative and the representative can sit in committee and they can talk about what they've heard, there's a little bit more buy-in from the public and they're more likely to trust the mitigations. I hear what's going on down south and I hear that a lot of people are just ignoring the mitigations. If there were mandates that people believed in, they saw the data, they knew when they were going to start, they knew when they were going to go away, I think you'd have more compliance. It's kind of like people don't want to carry an umbrella around all the time. They only want to carry an umbrella around when it's raining. Well, let's do the forecast. Let's have the public hearing. Let's look at the data. And when the situation is calls for it, we can have the mask mandate. When the situation doesn't call for it, it can automatically roll off.
So again, that's State Representative Mark Batinick, conversation I had with him yesterday, talking about a letter he sent to the governor. And at the time we talked yesterday, the governor had not responded. I reached out to the governor's office for comment. I have not gotten anything back, but yesterday afternoon, just as I was finishing my story, getting ready to turn it into edit, Representative Batinick said he did get a letter from the governor, and he shared it with us. And ultimately, here are some of the highlights of the governor's response to State Representative Mark Batinick, especially when it comes to relaxing mask mandates in schools. That could include a significant reduction in looking at the metrics that would be involved to relaxing. The governor said that could include a significant reduction in transmission, the availability and utilization of vaccines for school-aged children under 12, and improving vaccination rate for children 12 to 17 and for adults that interact in the school community, and or additional guidance from the CDC. But using localized data, the governor said, would be inaccurate, unfair, and unworkable. For example, to tell kids that masks can be off on Tuesday only to put them back on by Thursday, and that chaos would be our reality until we might reach herd immunity as a state and as a nation. Now, Representative Batinick's response to the letter, just two words: it's thoughtful. But this comes as nearly 20 months into this. We've got the ongoing situation. But more from the governor's letter. He said creating rigid metrics in this changing landscape wouldn't result in safer communities, the governor wrote to Mark Batinick. While I wish I could provide a specific end date for the sake of convenience for all of us, This virus's danger to people is diminished as our deterrence to it improves. He says, as for the statewide indoor mask mandate, the governor wrote, I've repeatedly said that once Illinois established a consistent downward trend on this current wave, we could reevaluate, and the current recommendations are from the CDC and return to mask recommendations instead of a mandate, the governor wrote. So, again, before the governor responded to Mark Batinick did talk with us and shared some of his final thoughts.
No, it's been, 20 months? Of executive orders without any public hearings. At some point, democracy is at risk, right? We're a co-equal branch of government. We need to start acting like it.
So we'll see where that goes. Of course, I'll try to get some reaction from others at the State House on why not have the legislature take these issues up and have some skin in the game so that they can be accountable to their local constituents instead of just one person making all the decisions for nearly 13 million people. All right, stay tuned. Much more coming up here on the WMAY morning news feed. Now, 6:51, your forecast, a high of 78.